Point that I'm making is that in everybody's life, at some point, there's a plan B. God is talking to us every step of the way. God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step of my life.
On the Word Network.
You know why I really love Nick Hood as a minister? I watched his father do it, and he took over for the church, and he was one of us, but he really turned out to be a great minister. I know it's hard, and that's something that I know that all ministers may not be doing what they're doing because for the right reasons. But I know it's hard. I know he's a beautiful man, and we've been knowing each other for over 50 years. I believe in him. He's inspired me in so many ways to do what I'm doing and try to be the best at it. Make sure you watch Nick Hood's ministries. You'll never be the same.
This is a new ministry which is just starting. Reverend Hood needs your help in sharing the good news of Jesus Christ and His power throughout the world. If you would be so kind as to send a donation to Nicholas Hood III Ministries of any amount, Reverend Hood will send you a free complimentary copy of his book of original personal prayers and beautiful photographs entitled The Test, The Strength, The Endurance, and The Way Out. Welcome to Nicholas Hood III Ministries, a ministry of hope, spiritual inspiration, personal power guided by Christian love. May the power of God's Holy Spirit fall upon you as you sit back and enjoy today's program. I introduce you now to Pastor Nicholas Hood III.
Today I want to talk about money. Specifically, is it a sin for the Christian to want money? Let me take it another level. Is it not only a sin for the Christian to want money, but is it a sin for a Christian to want more money? And where I'm going with this is that, and for good reason. We listen to the words of Jesus in Matthew chapter 6 from the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus says, "Lay not up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and thieves break in and steal. But rather lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither the moss nor the rust can corrupt or the thief can break in. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be as well." And Jesus was really trying to put us on track, and I'm going to bring us back to that text. But so often the Christian is led to believe that if you focus on money, then you must be sinning. And I want to share with you a little story. Many years ago, a woman in my church, a lady named Mary Bell, was talking with me. And let me tell you who Mary Bell was. She's dead now. But Mary Bell married a dentist, a guy named Dr. Haley Bell. And together with their daughters and sons-in-law, they created the first African-American radio station in America, built from the ground up, called WCHB, which was an AM radio station right outside of Detroit, and then WJZZ, which was a jazz version. The WCHB station played R&B music. The WJZZ station played jazz. And they made a lot of money with their radio station. And for some reason, one day, Mary Bell, she was up in years. She must have been 80 years of age. She pulled me aside and she asked me, she said, "Reverend, do you want to know what my favorite Bible verse is?" And I was a little surprised, but people raise that kind of question to ministers all the time. And can I tell you my favorite Bible verse? And so I said, sure, what's your favorite Bible verse? And she said, my favorite Bible verse is from 1 Timothy chapter 6, I think it's verse 10, where it says, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. I said, Ms. Bell, that's your favorite Bible verse? And she said, yes. Now, Ms. Bell and her husband were well beyond millionaires when she said that to me. Her husband was dead. And I said, maybe I was being a little impertinent, but I said, Mrs. Bell, how can that be your favorite Bible verse? You're one of the, if not the most wealthy woman I've ever met in my life in person. And how can you say that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil is your favorite Bible verse when you have so much money? And she said, Reverend, she said, listen again to what the verse says. And I said, okay. And she said, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. She said, it's not love, or rather, it's not money is the root of all evil, but it is love that is the root of all evil. Love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And I've been thinking about that in preparation for this message today, which is that she's right. The real problem with money is not money. Money is not your problem. Matter of fact, most of us would do a lot better if we had more money. More money for groceries, more money to pay the bills of our lives, more money to spend on our children, more money to buy medicines. I think healthcare is the largest reason why people declare bankruptcy in America right now, because they don't have enough money. So money in and of itself is not the problem. Money is not the problem. But as Mrs. Bell would say, and Jesus said it before her, the love of money is the root of all evil. And let me break that down for you. Why is the love of money a root of all evil? The love of money, my friends, really transposes the will of Jesus. The will of Jesus is not money, but the will of Jesus is the Apostle Paul says it in Galatians 5, verses 22 to 23. He said the fruits of the Spirit are love and kindness, goodness, self-control, faithfulness. These are the fruits of the Spirit. And if a person doesn't have that, they don't have much. It's very difficult for you to see God if you don't know love, if you don't know joy, if you don't know kindness, if you don't know peace and patience and self-control and faithfulness. You don't have much in the way of faith. And it is my belief that once a person develops and can learn how to build upon the fruits of the Spirit, the money will flow. And money is not your problem. The real problem is your attitude. And if your attitude is not right, everything else will be messed up in your life. Your faith will be messed up. Your ability to make money will be messed up. And people who have a bad attitude, people who are not loving and not kind, create an environment for themselves where they make it more difficult for them. Let me give you an example. Last week, I went to a market I don't normally go to. And it's kind of a high-priced market, but they, feature a butcher shop. And I wanted just some simple chicken breasts. And, I wait my turn to get the chicken breasts. And when the butcher comes up to me and says, can I help you? I said, yes, I'd like a couple of chicken breasts, these plain, skinless chicken breasts. And the man started giving me a hard time about the chicken breasts. And, it took me a few seconds to realize that the man was being rude and intemperate and somewhat smart alecky. And I finally, after engaging him for a few seconds, I realized what was going on. And I thought to myself, I don't have to spend my hard-earned money with you. I don't have to spend anything with you. I don't have to buy these chicken breasts. And the reason why I don't have to buy them is there's a store across the street that sells chicken too. And maybe I should just go back over there. And I'm looking at the guy behind the counter and I'm saying, with all due respect, I'm probably making a lot more money than that guy. But he has the audacity and the nerve to be smart alecky with me when I'm potentially in a position to pay his salary. And I said, to myself, Nick, you don't have to go through this today. Now, why am I saying that on this program? I'm saying it on the program because I started off by saying to you, is it a sin for the Christian to want money? Is it sinful to want money? And my quick answer is no, that's not the sin. The problem is not wanting money. The problem is your attitude about money. And I feel that as long as a person has the joy of Jesus in them, if you have the love of Jesus in your life, guiding your life, you will never, ever be without money. And you won't be without money because the Lord will make the money possible for you. I laugh sometimes. People look at me, some people look at me, and they treat me like I have a lot of money. Not that butcher at the shop, but a lot of the people that I deal with come up to me, and they have no problem asking me for money. And I laugh about that. I said, do these people realize that I am not a rich man? I'm a poor man. I'm just trying to get by, telling the good news of Jesus Christ, how he's made a difference in my life, how he picked me up from nowhere, turned me around, set my feet on solid ground. That's all I'm trying to do. And to let people know that what the Lord has done for me, the Lord can do for you. I'm no big deal in the scheme of things, but I laugh when some people come up to me and act like I have a lot of money. But I think the reason why some of these people come to me and ask me for money and they think I have money is because the way I carry myself. And how do I carry myself? I carry myself, my friends, with the love of Jesus Christ. I carry myself with the joy of the Lord. And I tell you, if you have the joy of the Lord in your life, you'll never, ever be without money. And so I just want to take away your fears and your concerns. You are not going to hell if you want to live a good life. There's nothing hellish or sinful about wanting a roof over your head. It's not sinful to want a bed to sleep in. It's not sinful for you to want nice clothes or to have a vehicle that you can drive. Who says you can't do this? The real issue, my friends, is where is your faith in the Lord? And when I say where's your faith, not only do you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, but have you given yourself to Christ? And if you have given yourself to the Lord, have you figured out how to be joyful in that process? Have you figured out how to be kind and loving in that process? Have you figured out how to live a life of peace? Have you figured out how to be patient and to have self-control in your life and to be faithful in your life? And once you take on that kind of mental attitude, once you begin to take on that level of spirituality, then what you will find is that you will never, ever be without money. My wife and I went to a party one night, and they had a fortune teller. And I didn't want to go over to the fortune teller. And we, fooled around as long as we could. But everybody was lining up to go see the fortune teller. And so eventually I said to my wife, okay, let's get in the soothsayer line and see what she has to say. And I don't know what the fortune teller, I don't remember what she said to my wife, but what I remember is the fortune teller looked at me and she said, she looked at the palm in my hand, she saw something, and she said, you have the Star of David. She said, but you haven't learned how to use it yet. And I thought that was amazing. Right there on 12th Street in Detroit, Rosa Parks Boulevard, the Martyrs of Uganda Church, Uganda Church, right there in their party room. And it struck me. I said, what does that lady see in my hands? And I don't know, maybe she was just making it up. But I tell you something, I've never been without money, and I'm not a rich man. I've never been destitute. And when I didn't have money, people fed me. When I didn't have much money in my pocket, poor people that I lived near in Detroit when I was in college fed me. And to me, they didn't have to do that. And I didn't ask them for money. But they sent their children across the little, entryway to me and said, my mama asked me to ask you, would you like to eat dinner with us? And what I'm saying is the Lord will provide for you. The Lord will take care of you, but you've got to be a witness for the Lord. And somebody looking at this program right now may be struggling in terms of your own finance, struggling in terms of how to pay your bills, struggling in terms of can I afford my medication, struggling in terms of how do I keep my rent payments right or pay my mortgage. And I'm here to say, yes, that's important. But the first thing first is focus. Focus on your spiritual attitude. Focus on love. Focus on being redemptive and merciful in your own relationships with other people. And when you focus on being something other than being mean, focus on something being other than stingy with a few dollars that you do have, what you will find is that the Lord will open the windows of heaven and pour down rich and abundant blessings upon you. And so that's the good word that I give you today. And the good word is you will not go to hell because you want money. You and I might go to hell because we're stingy with our money. We might go to hell because we misuse our money. But you will not go to hell necessarily because you want money. And remember what the Apostle Paul said to Timothy in his first letter. It is the love of money that is the root of all kinds of evil. That can be the problem. And think about, what does that mean to love money? Presumably what Paul is saying is you love money more than you love your wife. You love money more than you love God. One man told me he liked making money more than making love. And he was married at the time. And I said, man, and he looked at me and he said, Reverend, do you know what I mean? And I said, brother, I don't love money like that. I said, everybody has got their interests in life. And I'm convinced that what Paul was telling Timothy is keep your attitude in perspective. If you love money more than you love your son and your daughter, you got a problem. If you love money more than you love being with your wife or your husband, you need to check your attitude. And that's really the thing. It's not a sin to want money, but if money is your primary focus, then you got a problem. And think about what Jesus says. Lay not up for yourselves treasures on earth where the moth and the rust can corrupt and the thief can break in and steal. But rather lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither the moth nor the rust can corrupt, thieves cannot break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And I tell you, if your heart is in the right place, your treasure is going to be in your pocket. You know, if your heart is in the right place, you'll never be without money. And because you will have learned the secret to a good life. And so I want you to think about what I've just said. Think about your attitude about money. Think about the stresses and strains in your life because of money. And then ask yourself, am I spending money? Am I spending my hard-earned money in the best way possible? Am I spending my money in a way that remembers the poor? Am I spending my money in a way that remembers the tired, the lonely, and the hungry, the destitute? Or am I spending my money only on myself? And if your answer is, my main focus with my money is myself, then you got a problem. And so I hope I prick your conscience today. Stick around, I'm going to stop for a few moments. And when I come back, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this whole business of money and sin. Thanks so much for watching the program. I hope while we take a break, you'll pick up the phone, call a friend, tell them that Nick Hood is on the line and he's talking about money today. And I want you to hear what I have to say. God bless, God keep you, and thank you for being with me today.
This is a new ministry which is just starting. Reverend Hood needs your help in sharing the good news of Jesus Christ and his power throughout the world. If you would be so kind as to send a donation to Nicholas Hood III Ministries of any amount, Reverend Hood will send you a free complimentary copy of his book of original personal prayers and beautiful photographs entitled The Test, The Strength, The Endurance, and The Way Out.
There are people all across this globe who now will have the opportunity to know you like I do, because of course you are very forthcoming in telling stories about life, stories that are relatable, and that means something. How wonderful it is, and I just look forward to seeing how this platform, this new platform, will just rise and grow and really be a vessel through which you can be a blessing to folk all over this world, and Lord knows we need it.
Thank you for sticking with me. Today I've been talking about the question, is it a sin for the Christian to ask for money, to want money, to have money, and then to want more money? Is that really a sin? And it's so interesting that I'm talking about that today because a program like this really needs money. It costs a lot to be on the air, but I tell you, I love it. And part of the reason why I love it is every week I'm talking with somebody from around the nation. You know, they say the word network is in 195, 196 nations around the world. I haven't seen or received a contact from the people outside of the U.S., but I am seeing it across the country, and I love it. And my new friend on this program, new supporter, is a Miss Barbara Allen from a place called Longview, Texas. And there are others. I've got a couple of women, several right here in the Detroit area. Attorney Rita White, Renee Turner Bailey, Dr. Adanika Nunu. These are all people that are supporting this ministry. I mentioned the other week how grateful I am to my childhood acquaintance who became a friend later in life, Kevin Toney, the great musician, keyboard player, and his wife, Phyllis. And there are many others. Deborah McIntosh from Mobile, Alabama, Wendy Duman from Niles, Michigan, Josephine Austin from Detroit, Jackie and Lorimer Wyatt right here in Detroit. And there are others, who are part of this great fellowship. And I would just say that I hope everybody looking at this program has their own church. And I support that. I hope, if you're a part of a church, you should support the church. it's funny, during the pandemic, when we couldn't have people worshiping in the church, when we got to the time of the offering in the church, I would say, it was just me and the camera during the pandemic. And I'd look at that camera and I'd say, it's okay if you belong to another church. If you haven't been to church in a while, I said, send your church an offering. I said, go get your checkbook, write out a check, send it to your church. And by the same token, I would say, if you don't have a church, I want you to think of it. And if this ministry today, if this has meant something to you, to hear me talk about money and sin, and how do we, get right with God when Paul has told us the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. If that has meant anything to you at all, I want you to think about supporting this ministry. I need your help. I really do. And if you can support this ministry, I'll be happy to send you a complimentary copy of my book of prayers and photographs. And more than that, as I shared the previous week, I also send out a prayer almost every day to members of my church. And I don't know why, I didn't think about doing that as part of this ministry. But if you'd like to receive one of my daily prayers, they come through text message. If you have a cell phone that can receive a text message, I'll send you a prayer. So for instance, the prayer I just sent out today it started like this: Lord, I thank you for not kicking me to the curb. And I began to talk about, the grace and the mercy of God, how God brings us back in. We're almost near the end of this program, but again, I can't thank you enough for watching. I hope you'll tell your friends, and next week, I hope you will look for this program on Saturday. Now, Ms. Barbara Allen, who called me, when I told her, she said, what time are you on? I said, well, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She said, well, I thought I saw it earlier than that. I said, ma'am, that's because you're in Texas, and you saw it at 1:30. But this is a program you can look at all over America, and you can look at it throughout the world. So God bless, God keep you, and I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless.
Thank you for watching today's program. We hope you've been blessed in a powerful way. Just knowing you took the time to watch today's broadcast is a great encouragement to Pastor Nick Hood. If this broadcast has been a blessing to you, we ask that you mail a tax-free donation to Nicholas Hood Ministries at 4535 Chrysler Drive, Detroit, Michigan, 48201.
The point that I'm making is that in everybody's life, at some point, there's a plan B. God is talking to us every step of the way. God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step